There are very few things in this world that scare me, but one of them is painting.
Get in!
And sadly for me, I can't really drive the car around in the state it's in, so I have to paint it.
And everyone says you should always face your fears. So I'm going to do that today. Don't be stupid, I'm not making that mistake again. So I will be turning this extremely naked patrol body into something that looks aesthetically pleasing. Because right now, it doesn't. So, for the YouTube algorithm, as if I haven't painted the car already by the time you're watching this, what color should I make the car? So let's begin.
Now unfortunately, I carried my camera and microphone in a bag on a motorbike across Africa and Australia, across very bumpy roads. The result of this is that during the editing of this video, I found that my microphone has been utterly destroyed somehow, probably by all the vibrations. Anyway, most of my footage sounds like this.
Cracks.
So on the bits that are salvageable, I'll be using the audio from the video, but on the bits that aren't salvageable, I'll be using alternate voices.
Now firstly, there are some things that need to be addressed, apart from the atrocious paint job.
A dent.
Another larger dent.
Some cracks that have somehow appeared here.
And some annoying pinhole rusty bits in the usual areas on these old rubbish cars. So by the time I'm done with today's efforts, this car will be ready to be painted to look better than brand new. Let's make a thumbnail for the algorithm. Moving on. So what I have to do is remove all this sprayed on paint that was obviously put on there by a blind toddler, and make it so that the paint I'm putting on top of it isn't going to fall off.
This means sanding the whole car with at least a 240 grit sandpaper.
That includes the entire underneath of the car and all the weird little contours of the engine bay.
It's going to be a lot of work. But first, I'm going to do something about those dents. And to do that, I bought a fancy red handbag full of things I have never touched before, apart from a glue gun. Because everyone knows everything can be made and fixed with glue guns. You've all seen the videos. Anyway, here's what's in it. And before you ask what any of this stuff is, the answer is, I don't know. I'm going to be focusing on these ones. So basically, you glue a little thing on there, and you slide hammer it out. And that supposedly takes the dent with it. In theory. So let's test that theory. With a montage.
You get what you pay for. This is rubbish.
Now luckily for me, patrols are basically porous. I mean, you can shove your hand in there and touch the back of almost any dent. So I can probably just push this out from the inside. But that PDR kit is rubbish. Now considering I'm using a hammer and a pole that's used to turn the rotisserie, that's not terrible. I mean, I could get away with that with just a skim of filler, so I'm going to do that. Good enough. Now this one could potentially cause me problems because there's not really any access to the inside of this unless I start drilling spot welds out and removing panels. So if these annoying little things don't work on this, I'm probably just going to have to deal with it. I'm not going to bother fillering it because I'd rather have a larger dent than a cavity filled with filler. So we'll give it one of these. Did that actually do something?
Enough! Stop that. It's not funny.
No, that didn't come out too badly.
I've gone from one massive dent to about 2.5 small ones.
So that's going to be an off-camera job. And for the next job,
Cracks.
this one. Because that's the only one that's left. I've repaired all the others. How do you repair a crack? Well, you weld it up, of course. But this is the problem. Maybe I'll do something on screen, but when a crack forms, it spreads very quickly. And it spreads because there's a stress concentration that basically goes down to a point. And the smaller a point is, let's say it's 0, that means infinite stress. So any movement here is going to cause a huge amount of stress here. So what you do is you drill the root of the crack out, and this distributes all that stress around the radius of the circle. And that's about it. Drill a hole, clean it up, weld it up. Small thumb because I'm too zoomed in. Now you see all that stress is going around the outside of the circle, so it's not going to crack any further.
And that is the last crack on this car thoroughly de-cracked. Now from here, I took the initiative to stop the car's roof rusting from the inside out, like all the patrols do. And this one is in amazingly good condition considering it's about 33 years old. But the problem is, after such a long time, the sealant on the roof skin deteriorates and falls off, and lets a load of water in, which then makes it rust from the inside out. So what I'm doing is using the wire wheel to remove most of the old sealant, prep the metal, and put new sealant back in. And for those of you playing at home, after extensive research, I decided to use the 3M Drip Check sealant, which seems to be the closest thing that the factory uses. Do what you want with that information. The final thing on the list of horrors to address on this car before I can start sanding it are some pinholes around the windscreen. Now, unless you're 5, everyone knows that a pinhole is not just a pinhole of rust, which means that you basically have to chop it out until the metal starts being good again. Now in this case I was quite lucky. The reason I cut out so much metal was because the grinder disc was too big and I don't have a smaller one. But I got it all anyway. And using steel of the same thickness, I roughly cut them to similar sizes, which are going to be refined later. After some precision bending,
That's how accurate my hand bending is.
and getting the surrounding metal back to bare metal, I put it in place and hoped for the best. And with the assistance from a dainty magnet, I welded it in.
I might have learnt something from fucking up that troopy last year.
I lied. There was one more thing, but I forgot about it until now. Here it is. As I said before, all of this stuff has been in preparation for painting, and you can't really prepare too much for this. But to put it simply, make sure all your dents are gone. Measure all the important bits to find out if you've got enough paint to do it. Pretend at least that you know what's going on. And make effective use of tape measures.
Oh, it's length.
And after jerry-rigging a state-of-the-art dust extraction system, it's time to begin the long and arduous sanding process.
Anyway, thankfully, due to the joys of editing, We can watch this fast forwarded, so you don't have to watch some idiot boringly sanding a car for about 25 hours.
Well, it's alright for you, you don't have to do it.
You shut up, get back to work, minion. Now I'm going to use this video as an opportunity to impart all my wisdom that I've learned about body prep and painting, of which there is not a lot. And I'll be the first to admit that everything I've learned has been found on the internet. And like with everything, anything you read on the internet, you're immediately going to find a contradiction for. And this is no different. So with the body filler, you've got people who say put it on bare metal. You've got people who say prime over it. You've got people who say prime under it. So basically anything goes. So here's the approach I went for. Whether it works or not, we'll find out. But I don't plan on selling this car, so it's me that's going to find out the hard way if it's wrong. On any repairs that needed body filler, I went back to bare metal, got rid of the dent as best I could, and then keyed the surface so that the body filler adheres to it. On the bare metal, I tended to put zinc paint to help prevent any rust, so time will tell. Well, I'm now officially done with sanding. And that was horrible. I don't want to have to do any more.
I have more sanding to do.